Claire Dehm, and I'm a lead bike mechanic for BikeWalk Tompkins and also a program director. I think like a lot of kids, I just always had a bike growing up. They were usually hand-me-downs from my brothers, but there was always just a bike around. And I grew up in the countryside, so just like any escape from the house was just freedom. My parents had done this bike tour to Florida in 1980 from New York. And so that was kind of always in the back of my mind. And I think there was one like spring or summer day when I was living in Ithaca that my friend and I just like strapped a tent to the back of our bikes and put our backpacks on with like a bottle of water and some Cliff Bars, and we biked to Tremont State Park and like camped for the night and then came back. And that I think was like my first night ever like biking, having my tent with me, camping, and then coming back home. And it was like so fun, even though it was like such a super local thing. Like we probably biked like 4 miles to get to Tremont, but it felt like such a big deal and kind of sparked my interest in doing it more.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Did the bike tour in the summer of 2023. We just spent some time like talking about all the places we would be interested in biking, and then kind of landed on Europe. I like had bought a specific touring bike a year or two before because I was like really starting to get the bug. My friend started in Montpellier. He and another friend and I met up in Geneva, Switzerland, and then we biked over the Alps, and then we followed the Rhine River into Germany and the Netherlands to Amsterdam, and then we biked across northern Germany through Denmark to Oslo, and then he continued north into Norway, and I met up with a different friend, and then we went south into Sweden, back into Denmark to Copenhagen. For me, it was 8 weeks, and it was about 2,200 miles, and the average was about 50 or 55 miles a day. So, but on average, yeah, it was like 6 days of riding with 1 day off. Learning to make friends with strangers. We stayed a lot with Warm Showers Hosts, which is like an organization that connects bike tourists with hosts. And so like I've hosted people in Ithaca, and then when you're out, you can kind of message people and be like, hey, I'm coming through your town. Can I spend the night? And so we stayed with a lot of people that were like, welcome us into their house, give us a shower, make us a meal, talk with us for a few hours, give us a nice place to sleep, and then like breakfast in the morning and send us on our way. So it was a really cool experience to just like not really know where you're gonna end up, but like every person that we stayed with was really, really generous and so nice. And so it just like made the world feel a little bit smaller, and just like feeling this generosity from like so many people that are just basically strangers. Okay, so let's kind of start with different types of bike. I also generally like to do a little bit of like bike anatomy. And this is my first time teaching this workshop, so we can keep it like pretty conversational as well, especially if you have specific questions, but hopefully it'll give you like a good overview of just like different types of bikes, and we can kind of like the first grant that I received to teach bike mechanics to women, trans, femme, non-binary folks was in 2021. I just like had this idea in my head that I wanted to like teach bike mechanics. So I applied for the grant and I received it. It was like $400. It was just enough to like buy materials for a fix-a-flat kit, which would be like a bike pump, a patch kit, tire levers. I hosted, I think, 3 workshops over that summer, and it was like at the Ithaca Farmers Market. So that was kind of like the first iteration. I called it Women at the Wheel, and it was our like flagship fix-a-flat class. When the pandemic hit and I had a little bit more time, I just like got more involved, and I was friends with a few bike mechanics, so we would talk about, you know, how to fix bikes more. And then I started volunteering with BikeWalk Tompkins. I just like really loved it, and so I stayed involved with them, and then was able to go take a professional bike mechanic course in Colorado Springs. And when I came back, I just like had so much more confidence into like how to fix bikes, and it really like made me excited to want to continue to like host workshops where I like could help other people become more confident in like fixing their bikes. So the grit workshop came about kind of
from a similar place that the original like Sustainable Tompkins workshop came about, where I was just really excited to like work with women, trans, non-binary folks to like build more resilience and confidence in this population in bicycling, which is like a male-dominated industry typically, especially like bike mechanics. City Federation of Women's Organizations had a grant to help support programs like this. So with the help of BikeWalk Tompkins, we applied for it, and we ended up receiving a $10,000 grant through them to help support the GRIT project, both mechanical workshops and like bike adjacent workshops. Like one of the workshops was Fun in the Slush, which is like how to have fun riding your bike in the winter, or route planning, or finding the right fit on your bike. And then there's also going to be like a 3-part series that's going to be more of a deep dive into bike mechanics.
Your front toe is here, like over the first set of knuckles. Your like knees start to hurt. If your knees are hurting, your seat is a little low.
There have been lots of community members also involved in like teaching the workshops. So it really feels like a culmination of like this community that's like slowly been building. I think there are a lot of barriers for like women and the queer population in general to like specifically to get into biking. The aim of the GRIT workshops is to increase more accessibility and inclusivity in the biking community. I think the self-reliance is like a huge part of it, where if something goes wrong on your bike, you're not just relying on like the dudes that are at the front of the pack to like tell you what's wrong or fix it for you, but that you can like have your own toolkit with you and you can diagnose it and then be able to fix it or bring it into a bike shop later. Or with BikeWalk, we have open shop hours where people can bring their bikes in and learn how to fix them themselves.
Yeah, so everything can be swapped out, but not everything can be swapped out for everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Like even the seat tube, which you're like, all bikes have that. It's like these are all different diameters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I kind of mentioned it before, but this is like the.
And that attaches the pedal
Oh, yeah.
to the gear.
That
to the
this
Oh,
way. Okay.
chain.
Okay. Thank you.
No.
Sometimes I have it in the
To
stand.
Bicycling is like the type of thing that promotes resilience, positive environmental impacts, social impacts, the health of the community in general. So the goal of the GRIT program is to like build confidence in women, trans, non-binary, femme folks, to empower them to ride their bikes more, which will like help build this more resilient community. So like through bike mechanics and through other like basic biking skills, we're hoping to like encourage more people to be on their bikes, and then that will like lead to a healthier community. There's just so many different ways to enjoy biking. It could just be like going out for an afternoon bike ride on the Black Diamond Trail, or it could be going to buy your groceries, or it could be biking for months for many, many miles. And I think that's part of what I love about biking, is it's like so versatile and there's not really like a right way to do it. Yeah, I just think it's so much more worth it to just like be thinking about life a little bit more like simply and locally.